Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for FX Trucking, Simplifying the Process for Dispatchers and Drivers. We are happy that you've taken the time to join us today. My name is Emily Rhodes, and I am the Director of Marketing at LiquidFrameworks. I will be acting as the moderator for our webinar today. So let's start with some housekeeping notes. We've muted the phone lines on our end to avoid any interruptions during the presentation today. We will, however, allow time for a short question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please enter it in the question box on the right-hand side of the screen, and we will be sure to answer it for you. Next, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Joining us today, we have Justin Gerard, Solutions Engineering Manager with LiquidFrameworks, and we also have Matt White, Senior Solutions Engineer, also with LiquidFrameworks. Today, we are really excited to be showcasing LiquidFrameworks' newest module, FX Trucking. This module is a direct result of customer feedback. At LiquidFrameworks, we're always listening to the needs of our customers, and we're excited to be able to expand the product suite to meet those needs. So let's turn things over to Justin to get us started.
Thank you, Emily, for that introduction, and thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar today to talk about simplifying the process for dispatchers and drivers using our newest module, FX Trucking. Before we begin, we want to include our safe harbor slide, just reminding everyone that while we may show something or describe something in a future release, that to make any purchasing decisions based on currently available features. Before we dive right into a demo of the process, I would be remiss if I didn't set the stage about who LiquidFrameworks is and who we serve. LiquidFrameworks has been around since 2001, primarily as a consultant in the oil field and industrial space around mobile field operations. We evolved into a software company in 2007 with our first enterprise SaaS solution. Fast forward to today, and we have a suite of over 10 modules focused specifically on three main verticals. We have spent countless hours riding out to the well sites and refineries, conducting interviews with field technicians, and even talking to your customers to deliver an enhanced suite of modules capable of serving all facets of the oil field, industrial, and environmental industries. As you can see by a sample set of some of our customers, we don't sell to the Mr. Fix-Its or your typical AC repairman. We focus solely on the oil field, industrial, and environmental services industries. Whether you're drilling a new well or installing a beam pump, transporting produced water to a disposal facility, cleaning up after a spill, performing an inspection or repair on a heat exchanger inside of a refinery, or some variation of those, FieldFX is right for you. Up until recently, LiquidFrameworks has delivered several applications and add-on modules specifically designed for the oil field, industrial, and environmental spaces. Today, the FieldFX suite serves a multitude of different individuals ranging from quote to cash and everything in between, including maintenance and other supporting roles in the industry served. Today marks the first release in a series of future releases of a fit-for-purpose, segment-specific application that's designed for an industry that serves across the oil field, environmental, and industrial service sectors, and that is FX Trucking. It's a slightly different approach to the current FieldFX suite, where the interface is specifically designed for trucking. Any trucking company, or really any company that deals with logistics of getting goods from point A to point B, can certainly sympathize with the stress in today's environment. Not only are you having to worry about product availability, but also regulatory compliance, driver availability, truck availability, and of course, safety. Paper piles up, and these piles lead to misplaced tickets, unbilled revenue, and most importantly, time. Drivers are already fighting bad weather, distracted drivers, traffic, and meeting unrealistic deadlines. Dispatchers are having to sometimes use multiple electronic systems to ensure resource availability, not to mention reconciling gate logs or timesheets with an entirely different electronic system, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We want to reduce the time and, most importantly, the stress that is placed on these individuals. While some may be used to the FX e-ticketing module for their quote-to-cash process, the trucking industry is a unique space with specific requirements. The FX Trucking module is a fit-for-purpose application that provides a seamless experience for the dispatcher and the driver. Now, instead of playing scavenger hunts, looking for all the necessary information to accurately route goods to a site, dispatchers can take advantage of having access to all of the required information from one single screen. When customers call asking where their items are at, no longer are you having to call or radio into the truck to find out the status. Now, when drivers do incur a delay, they can electronically update their status and have that reflected in real time back to the office. Drivers can rest easy knowing that the billing ticket is being automatically generated for them with pre-configured charges based on the commodity or the item that's being delivered. Drivers can access a guided, fit-for-purpose mobile application that walks them through their process in just a matter of seconds. For unmanned locations, the mobile application can streamline proof of delivery by the use of geofencing. So whether you're hauling water, sand, chemicals, or even assets, FX Trucking can help streamline your operation from route creation to delivery. And with that said, I'll pass it off to Matt.
Thanks, Justin. So what I first want to talk about is the traditional trucking management world. And as Justin mentioned, this could come in a multitude of avenues, whether it's other applications, multiple applications as it were, email, text message, pen and paper. Trying to manage all of these while managing your drivers and your routes and where they are really creates this headache for the dispatcher. So what we've done here at LiquidFrameworks is we not only sat around and looked at this, we sat with our drivers, we sat with the dispatchers, and we wanted to distill this into a unified workflow. What's happening during route creation, to managing drivers, to scheduling those routes, and ultimately dispatching them out to the driver. So we can quantify each of these steps along the way, but understand what they're doing, why they're using other applications, why they do this on paper. And ultimately, what came into FX Trucking was a single screen where all of these resources are managed, whether it's drivers or trucks. All of my routes are going to be managed in a multitude of different views so I can make sure that all the information that I need at any given time is right there on my single screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into a demo and take a look at exactly what this world looks like. And so what you'll see on my screen here is our new FX Trucking dispatch. And in this screen, I have a lot of information, but it's right here at my fingertips, so I'm not having to go through one or many screens or all other applications. I have all of my drivers on the left, all of my routes in my inbox on the right, and then throughout the day, I can see where my drivers are, what's the progress of the time with my nice red line of what's the current time, where are things being placed. But I'm also being notified of little details here. So in FX Trucking, we want to make sure that, Heidi or Justin has a default truck that they may be assigned, but I can see here that Bob is not. He doesn't have a default truck. He might just be picking up any spare that happens. He might be a floating driver. And I could manage assigning him a truck here, or I could just manage for an individual route, his individual truck for this single route run. And all I have to do is come in here, select what truck he's going to be utilizing for this, and go ahead and hit save. And it allows me to now see that this has been updated. I can then dispatch this out. So it's making sure that he has an assigned truck. He now gets an alert that this has been dispatched to his mobile device. He gets a notification on his home screen. He sees all these details. But from this one screen, I'm managing my drivers in my truck, even down to the individual route level. And this could occur throughout the day, even though Bob has no assigned truck, Brady, you can see, does, and maybe Brady gets broke down, has a delay in his vehicle, I could reassign later routes to a new truck. So I can individually change those routes as the day occurs. Now, what you'll see here on the right is I have a number of routes already in my email inbox. I've got one that has a nice big red explanation next to it. That's letting me know that that came from yesterday, and that's my priority. I need to focus on that. So I want to get that in here. I want to get that onto my board and make sure that gets scheduled right away, and it moves everything else up in my list. So as I walk through each of these, you'll see that this is interacting. I can start playing with all of my routes and how they're being scheduled out, but it hasn't been sent out to my drivers yet. You will see that in the top right of my nice big green box, I can dispatch out one or many routes. So if I plan out my entire day and I want to dispatch, 50 or 100 routes at once, I can do so, or I can individually dispatch each route to the driver. Now, as we understand, this is just managing routes that I've already created. Now, what happens when I get a phone call and a customer says, hey, I need you today? I can come in here and create a very quick route. Go ahead and come in, pick who my customer is, pick my origin, where we're picking up from, where I'm going to. I can select my disposal facility or where I'm going to be dropping off. I can add any comments or notes for the driver. So there might be, maybe there's a gate code or you need to speak to someone directly on location. But then I go into my billing information here. And so this is where we're taking and linking in our world of jobs and tickets to help that automation. So I'm going to come in here and select a pre-made job that I have. But you'll see I also have the ability to create a new job from scratch. So for some, you might have an ongoing job that you're going to connect all your routes to for maybe this specific customer. But then as well as a new customer comes on, I can still create a job from scratch right here. And then of course I can identify what we're hauling. Is it dirty water? Is it we're moving an asset? Are we moving fresh water? And we'll take your items and identify each of them. So this list could grow for all your commodities that you have. It doesn't just have to be what I've highlighted here, but we're ensuring that all the items are right here. But again, this is creating an automated ticket with the commodity charge that should be applied automatically. But for the dispatcher, he's just focused on the route details. The system's handling that automated billing process. And you'll now see that I have my Cirrus route here at the top that I just created. I can come in here, drag that onto my next driver. I can drop it in. I can come in and maybe shorten the length or extend it out if I need to. So knowing how long this is going to occur will help me build out my day. As well as if this is zoomed out too far, you may say, well, we need to be a little more granular. You can come in here and change, well, maybe we want to go down to a 15-minute interval. So we can come in here and make that quick adjustment and schedule down at a little bit lower level. So it really allows you to tailor this route dispatcher screen to exactly what they need to experience and see all the details that they need to have right here on one single screen. And then you'll also notice that I have a nice big gray bar there called PTO for one of my drivers, letting me know that, hey, they've submitted time off inside FieldFX, and that ends up on the dispatch board. So bringing in more information beyond just the route details, I want to know if a driver's taking time off or they're not going to be available on a certain day because maybe they're going for training. All that will be brought into my dispatch board so I can ensure that I'm not scheduling someone that might be taking a day off or won't be available because they're doing training. So all of that's occurring right here on a single screen. As well as I may not want to just focus in on what's going on with my drivers and my routes. I may want to switch views and say, well, what's going on with specific routes? And I want to do a group by maybe customer here, and I can go ahead and group that. Or maybe I want to schedule and sort by driver, what's going on there. So it's really allowing me to take all this information I have and sort of slice it up a little bit differently, check utilization. Maybe I want to see what's pending. I want to see what's going on with different routes, what's pending, what's upcoming. All of these right here at my fingertips. And then, of course, my utilizations of my actual assets. So where are my trucks going to be throughout the day? So taking that view, instead of focusing on drivers, I want to focus in on my individual trucks and seeing what's going on with each truck, what's the status. I can see based on the color of what's in progress. Red is my canceled. So it's really zeroing in on what's happening with each of not only my trucks, but my individual drivers here. And so it's really taking that world of multiple systems, paper, text message, all these different processes, and streamlining it into one single view for the dispatcher. And so now, once I dispatch this information out, alerts are going to go out to my driver. But now let's switch roles here and go over to that driver world and see what they would see ultimately. But before we dive into that, I have a similar slide I want to talk about real quick of what's going to happen for that driver. So just like we did with the dispatchers, what are they doing throughout the day? How are they managing their routes? How do they input this information? How detailed are they during these routes? What information are they collecting? All sort of came together into a single application that's being ran on a phone or on a tablet. So being able to distill this down to a guided workflow and saying each step, this is what you're going to be doing, not hunting for what they're supposed to be doing. It's telling them you're at arrival, check in, now you're at the next screen. So let's dive into that world and see exactly what the driver would see inside their phone here. So this is my phone. I can see that I've got a route assigned to me. It's scheduled at a certain time. It's letting me know where I'm going. So we're going to take the assumption that I have arrived on location. So I'm going to go ahead and click my arrived at pickup. My next screen is now asking me to fill in how many barrels am I picking up. And again, you saw me input that from the dispatcher screen, and that could be pre-populated for the driver, or if the dispatcher doesn't know, we just know that, hey, we're going to go to this location and do a pickup. I might leave it blank for the driver to fill in for him automatically. And you'll see that's just a simple input. He goes and hits the next screen. And for this route, I'm done. I've gone and captured my information. I can get a signature from my customer right here if I want. They could sign off on it. They could generate a nice copy for the customer to see or view, but you can also enrich the mobile application with additional details. So what you may want to have is maybe there's additional fields that they need to be able to collect, or maybe there's additional details about top gauge, bottom gauge that they can fill in before they get that signature. You can do that. But when we're done here, you can also see that we have delays and scans, in which we're going to get into in a minute here. But we're going to go ahead and move on to my next screen here. My next screen is letting me know that, hey, we've left the origin and we're now on our way to the disposal. It's telling me we're going to go to Lone Star, just like the dispatcher notified me of. I can select when I arrive at that location. And again, it's letting me know that, hey, this is what we're dropping off. Do I need to get a new signature? Maybe I don't. Maybe I have a paper manifest from that facility I need to capture. Well, we can do that. We can go in here, get a camera, go ahead and take a photo of that paper copy of the manifest, attach that to this route. So we're ensuring that not only are we digitizing the process with FieldFX and FX Trucking, but if there are any paper trails that have to be captured, we can quickly scan and bring those into the application, as well as any delays that might occur. So in this example, I didn't have any delays, but I wanted to bring it up so folks can see that, as Justin mentioned, we can tag what's going on. Maybe there's a delay on the road, or maybe I'm waiting at the disposal facility. You can tag that and notify the dispatcher that I'm going to be a little late, so they can adjust the day downward. If I'm going to reroute someone, or I'm going to be running late to my next disposal, I can do so. And then once I'm done, I just signify that my drop-off is complete. And I'm done for the day. I have no more route. All this information is being pushed back into the back office and updating my screen. And you'll be able to see that information in the back office world. So now that we see what's going on, this went from a nice yellow into a green, and I can see that it's now completed. So moving that through the workflow, identifying and updating all this information that happens in real time, so we know exactly where our drivers are at any given time and what's going on. And I'm not worrying about like missing a text message, or I got a paper ticket in that fell on the floor. I'm able to capture all that information right here at my fingertips. And so with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Emily and Justin for any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Justin. That was short and sweet. I guess that's the point, is simplifying the process, right? So just as a reminder, we are going to take questions. You can enter them in the question box, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. And we do have a few, guys. First question, will it integrate with GPS systems?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have a system that's currently capturing information on the vehicle using one of a number of different middleware solutions, you could absolutely have that information transposed into FieldFX.
Okay, next question. How does this work with my ELD and ERP?
Great question. So with the ELD and ERP, just like e-ticketing, we would integrate with those systems. So we're bringing in information from the ELD to help the dispatcher know where they are. And then, of course, the billing ticket that's being automatically generated in FX Trucking would be pushed back to the ERP, just like today for any e-ticketing customer.
Okay. So is it possible to use both the standard e-ticketing plus the trucking module?
Of course, and that's one reason why we developed the FX Trucking is so for some customers with multiple business lines, you might have users in the e-ticketing world continuing their normal process, and a trucking group that now has the ability to have a streamlined process inside FX Trucking being unified together in one platform.
Okay. Well, thanks for everybody who has attended the webinar today. We are recording, and we will send this out afterwards, so you will have a recording of it. And that's it. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, everyone.